Here again, I return to this because I believe that they will take this down soon. I have two problems with this because people that defend gravity will not address this. They don't have the character. They suppress this, and they suppress it for a reason because, as I just said, they do not have the character to face or answer this. When you type in, what don't we know about gravity? Because if you don't ask the correct question, they will never tell you this. Matter of fact, when I did this, I was surprised. Now, I had directed another individual debating with me to do this, and I bet he almost got a broken neck doing a triple take to see that what I said was true. Now, when you type in, what don't we know about gravity, or famously called gravity, you get this. However, and there's a two-pronged problem here with this first statement. However, if we are to be honest, I emphasize honest because they should always be honest. And this says a lot. However, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. Okay? They will totally ignore that. And then they will go on to this major contradiction. We only know how it behaves. That is a major contradiction. Because if you do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way, do you hear that? There is no fundamental way that they can tell you what gravity itself is. So then they have to say the contradiction, we only know how it behaves. And that is a lie, because a rock falling, this 9.8 meters a second squared, is not the cause. It is not gravity itself. It is the alleged effect that they ascribe to gravity. Okay, it is not gravity itself. Now they'll say gravity is a force of attraction, but I can show you that they will say that gravity is a weak force or a fictitious force. And how can they even put a name on something that they cannot explain in any fundamental way? That is a powerful statement. Okay, gravity is a force of attraction that exists between any two masses. Now, this is untrue because they say every mass has gravity of itself. Okay, but they're using any two bodies, any two particles. Gravity, and then they say gravity is not just the attraction between objects on the earth and the earth. Now, these people, one guy, he tried to argue with me because he tried to say, well, you believe in God, can you prove that? And with the character I do possess, I answered in an honest manner. I cannot produce one iota of presence or substance of God, nor can I demonstrate current, field, wave, beam, ray, or particle of God. So I must admit that my belief in God is purely based on faith. And I will admit that. The difference between me and this character and everyone who believes in this nonsense is that they do not have the character to admit in reality their belief in gravity is purely based on faith. And how this faith arises is because we, me too, I was systematically dumbed down. I was programmed to instantaneously, with no regard for truth or verification, but in an instantaneous manner, to believe anything that the men of science teach and say. I was programmed to believe that these people are 100 times smarter than me. Okay, we are programmed to instantaneously believe anything they say. And if you do have a high IQ and character, you can acknowledge this, especially when it is pointed out to you. Okay, now I don't want to get away from the source site that I'm speaking about here. However, if we are to be honest, which is very telling, because they are not always honest, they are 70% dishonest. However, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. And I try to tell people, when I ask them, explain what that means, then they'll, oh, gravimeter, Cavendish. They will not explain what it means to say, however, if we are honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. Then they go into a hypnotic state, which is what you were programmed to do, like a hypnotist who uses a watch that swings back and forth to help put someone in a hypnotic state. A scientist puts on a white lab coat, and when you see that white lab coat, you go into a hypnotic state to instantaneously believe everything he says. No person, scientist, anyone will, on the record, explain what this means. However, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. They can't. Okay? Your indoctrination is deep. They say that we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way because they cannot directly detect gravity itself. When a rock falls, or anything they're measuring with a gravimeter, water, whatever, they cannot detect anything over, under, within, to its left or right. Anything besides air. That is the only thing. There is nothing other than air about that object falling. Okay? There is no current, field, wave, beam, ray, or particle of any force or occurrence that they want to call gravity, or whatever they want to call it, the curvature of space-time, which is the alleged curvature of the fabric of space-time that is curved by the alleged mass of an object, weighing down on its surrounding fabric of space-time. They will never explain why these people acknowledge that, if they are to be honest, they do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. And I will. It's because gravity is a theory based on the supposition of rocks falling and objects in water descending. They put this force or occurrence on it. This force or occurrence is made up to get you to believe. These people I debate with would pass a lie detector test in any test for honesty or falsehood that they honestly and truly believe they are on the outside surface of a giant spinning ball, spinning faster than a bullet at its halfway mark, the equator. They also believe that the ground they are standing on, that is spinning faster than a bullet at the equator and orbiting the sun at 60 plus times faster than a bullet, they believe the ground they stand on is up in the sky that they are looking at, that it is just another light. This is absurd. You would never come to such a conclusion unless these liars were telling you this. There is no way on the earth, with your God-given senses and sight, that you would ever say that the earth is spinning faster than a bullet. You couldn't look up in the daytime sky and see that. What you would see are clouds going 15 miles an hour south and 1,000 feet higher, clouds going north in the opposite direction, 10 miles an hour. We have all been systematically dumbed down. Please, I was among you. Do not go to Wikipedia and plagiarize verbatim, word for word, what they are saying, because I believed it too. I am aware of it. Okay? That's how I learned how to get an answer to what I want. You have to be indirect. And when you type in, what don't we know about gravity, this comes up. If we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. That's because it's a theory. Gravity itself has no presence or substance of itself. Therefore, there is no way it could influence anything. It could not interact, engage, or engulf any two particles or any two objects without a known means of propagation to travel or introduce itself upon those two particles or two pieces of matter. Okay? And then these people don't even know that Newtonian gravity has been discarded, and they now favor Einstein's version of the curvature of space-time. Again, the only thing we can detect within the Earth's atmosphere is air that is over, under, to the left and right of any object fallen. There is no direct detection of any sort of an alleged fabric of space-time breaching our atmosphere to curve stuff towards the center of the Earth. This suffers the same fatality. All they can do is show you a trampoline with a bowling ball that they will say represents the Earth, and the trampoline represents the fabric of space-time. And when the bowling ball gets put on the trampoline, it pushes down. And they say that is an example of the curvature of the fabric of space-time. And that's all they can do. They cannot, then they'll use another bowling ball on another trampoline, not the same one, because they will roll to each other. You understand? They'll push the trampoline down and meet in the middle. A collision. These people are suffering hypnosis. The problem here is, again, a two-pronged problem. These people do not have the character to face the truth. They suppress it. They cannot address it. The two problems here is the second half of that problem is the lack of character, so they suppress it. The other problem is they don't have an adequate IQ to understand this, to process what this means. There's no way that a force or occurrence of gravity could hold, pull, or curve over 1 quintillion tons of water to the outside surface of a giant ball spinning faster than a bullet at its halfway mark, the equator, without having presence and substance of itself to propagate to every molecule of that water to engage or engulf it, to curve or pull it back to the Earth's center. Okay, the only way that such a force or occurrence could exist, if it's operating from one of the many dimensions that these liars like to tell people exist, or if it is some sort of God. Okay, in my opinion, NASA or gravity, forgive me, gravity is their God. Einstein or Newton, whoever you favor, is its prophet, and NASA is its disciples. People don't have, these people are either too dumb to understand what this is, or they are so heavily and highly invested, having spent thousands of dollars to get degrees in this nonsense, that they are forced to cling and defend it. The truth doesn't matter to these people. Okay? They will never explain. I've asked it 100 times. What does this mean? Why is this a fact statement? Why does it exist? How could this be said? However, if we are to be honest, we do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. And none of these, forgive me, none of these scumbags will expound or elaborate on it. They will go straight to gravimeters or Cavendish, which are only, I repeat, only the alleged effects of gravity. Gravity would be the cause, and rocks falling and what gravimeters are alleged to measure are the effects that they say gravity produces, results in. They will never answer the question, why are these people saying, if we are to be honest, we don't know what gravity is in any fundamental way. They will never address that. They will never give you an answer because it would result in a system overload. These people smoke would start coming out of their ears. Okay? Because they can't admit, they can't even acknowledge why the statement is true and why it exists. I know why. And then they call me dumb for telling them why. However, if they are to be honest, they don't know what gravity is in any fundamental way. I know why. Gravity has no independent or personal presence or substance of itself. No form seen or unseen. It is without it, void. Not having one scintilla or iota of presence and substance of itself. Then, if it had presence and substance of itself, then it could employ a means of propagation to engage, engulf, or direct, interact by current, field, weight, beam, ray, or particle upon every ton, a quintillion tons of water on the surface of the earth, every person, place, and thing, every grain of sand, particle of dirt, everything. It would employ a means of travel. Okay? They will ignore this and suppress it because they haven't the character to address it. There is no way that there is a force or occurrence that holds every person, place, everything, every blade of grass, particle of dirt, grain of sand, and again, person, place, and thing, trillions of objects. There is no way a force or occurrence could do that and hold or pull or curve it all back to the center of a giant ball spinning faster than a bullet unless it had presence and substance of itself to do so. I don't understand why they don't realize this. This would be the realest, truest, most demonstrable force or occurrence on the earth. It could never be a theory if it is doing all those things. It would have presence and substance of itself just like electricity does. We can directly detect electricity, directly isolate it, and harness it. I can't believe these people will not acknowledge this. They will not realize that they have been systematically dumbed down to believe a model that is incorrect. There was a famous guy that said these people substitute equations in place of reality. And yes, it was Tesla, Nikola Tesla. Okay, and Einstein was quoted as saying, I'm not a genius. If you want a Jesus, go talk, a genius, go talk to Nikola Tesla. He knew that our cosmos, our cosmology was based in electricity. I don't like the word universe because people think I believe in an expanding vacuum universe. But everything we see in the sky is all based on electricity, electromagnetic power, current. The lights we see in the sky have no mass. As I said, you cannot weigh light and you cannot burn light. It has no mass. Okay? And that's what we see in the sky. That's what stars are. We zoom in on them and we can see that they exhibit the appearance of currents of electromagnetic energy. They're orbs of light, nothing more. These liars use artists' renderings and conceptions to masquerade these lights in the sky as something else. They are exactly what they appear to be. But I promise you, anyone who leaves a post under this video will not explain what this means. They will not tell me why they are saying. However, if we are to be honest, we don't know what gravity is in any fundamental way. They'll say, "Oh, you're dumb. Why do things fall? If it's not gravity, you have to replace it." They will not explain why these men of science are admitting that, if they are to be honest, they do not know what gravity is in any fundamental way. They can't. They're too dumb to understand it. So they suppress it. To this is of no problem to them. This is of no circumstance. I forgot the word I use. That irritates me. This is of no consequence. I was trying to say, this is of no consequence to these people. This means nothing to them. If they cannot tell you what gravity is in any fundamental way, they could care less. And there are reasons. They are too dumb, the IQ is too low, they have no character, or they are just so highly invested in this garbage that to admit it would probably, they'd probably melt. Like the Wicked Witch who got water thrown on her. They would literally melt rather than face this garbage. If they did face it, they'd melt. They're liars, and they have no character, they have no honor, they have nothing. They don't even know what gravity that most of these liars are now ascribing that is the mechanics of our earth. It's disgusting. How could gravity assemble every planet, star, moon, and rock unless it had direct presence and substance of itself to do so? The mass of a planet or object produces this garbage? Then how did it all get assembled?